We just celebrated our 20th anniversary, and that surprised some people because there are people who have been working in this, toiling in the vineyard, as I say, for even longer than that. So it's 21 years now for this particular organization. And the movie is very different that we're looking at today. That's a question I get asked a lot. Haven't we seen this movie before? The answer is no. We haven't seen this movie before. One of the things that changed quite dramatically is that EDTA, in its original configuration, was focused on electric vehicles. It was very vehicle-centric. Today we focus on electric drive. So we're not vehicle-centric, we're technology-centric. And electric drive can be configured as pure battery electric vehicle, hybrid, and there are many hybrids now, and I think over 25 different hybrids either in showrooms or coming to showrooms in the next year or two. Plug-in hybrid vehicles or plug-in electric drive vehicles in general, and pure battery with range extender, and of course fuel cell electric drive vehicles which create electricity on board using a fuel cell and with hydrogen as a carrier. That technology can be used in a lot of different ways, and that's really important given the number of vehicles that we have in the fleet that we want to transition to sustainable, clean, sustainable fuel, preferably fuel that is given in an energy security environment that is produced from domestic feedstock, like the grid is. For example, the generation of electricity in this country is to a high degree produced from domestic feedstock. That means we keep the energy dollars that we're spending on transportation in this country. That's a lot of those ideas, energy security, etc., were there in the very beginning of the founding of EDTA when it was actually called the Electric Transportation Coalition 21 years ago. But today we have a technology that can meet so many more needs of the transportation fleet, and that's really important. The other thing that's very different today is that we're benefiting from the convergence of so many different technologies that not just benefit electric transportation, but faster microprocessor speeds, much better software, and the fuel source for plug-in electric drive vehicles, i.e. electricity, is going to come from a huge national security asset called the electricity grid. And that's important because the electricity grid is domestically, it's generated from domestic feedstock, number one. Number two, it's better today to plug your vehicle in, even with today's generation mix, than it is to use gasoline. We have very good studies that have been done by partnerships, collaborations between the utility industry and the environmental community that bear that out. And more importantly, the electricity grid is not standing still. It's getting more robust, it's getting cleaner, and it's getting smarter. So we're benefiting today from this convergence of many, many different technologies, and that's the big difference between EDTA in its initial stages 21 years ago and today. It's a vital part of the electrified transportation picture, and I'll tell you why. Because the most available technologies today for renewable fuel or renewable energy generation are wind and solar, but both of those are intermittent, for example. So what's happening today with vehicle electrification is we want greater and greater range, which means we need greater and greater batteries for energy storage. We need the same thing over here to leverage intermittent renewables on the utility grid. These two independent trends are driving greater technology, greater energy storage, and at the end of the day, what's happening is that these two trends are converging. Utilities are beginning to look at electric vehicles or plug-in electric vehicles as energy storage on four wheels. More importantly, we can develop secondary uses for batteries that are going to be utilized in vehicles in central or stationary storage for the utility grid. That's important because one of the real challenges that we've got in this breakthrough technology today is the cost of energy storage. We have large format lithium-ion batteries coming to the marketplace. We're trying to ramp up the manufacturing of these batteries so that we can bring the cost of the battery packs and therefore the cost of the vehicles down to make them more competitive. One of the ways that we can get to greater scale in battery manufacturing is we can utilize more and more large format lithium-ion batteries in energy storage for the grid. And that's where we're going to start to see greater and greater scale. So these trends, while they're independent of one another, are going to be complementary over time. And I think that's a part of this technology picture that's not well understood. And as people begin to realize that's beginning to happen, they'll see that this partnership that's developed between the utility industry and vehicle manufacturers is one that's going to continue over the long term. The National Plug-in Vehicle Initiative is a new it's a new area that EDTA members are working in to get information out to the general public. So it's an outreach and education effort so that we have information available to customers so that they can evaluate the benefits of vehicles that plug into the grid. Particularly so that they can evaluate, what are the benefits of this vehicle relative to the conventional vehicle that I'm used to driving. And that's not going to be a very easy thing to do, given that we're used to, as consumers at least, we're used to evaluating our vehicles based on miles per gallon. Well, miles per gallon don't necessarily apply very easily when you start talking about leveraging the grid. The grid, on the other hand, the cost of energy, electricity, is much lower on a per mile basis. We're estimating somewhere between 2 and 3 cents a mile versus gasoline, which is somewhere between 12 and 14 cents. Now, those are general numbers, but you get the idea. There's a real cost advantage to using electricity versus using gasoline. But we need to make that information available to consumers in a way that they can compare apples to apples. It's a collaborative effort on the EDTA platform, so we have utility companies involved, we have battery manufacturers involved, we have smart grid companies, the utilities themselves, we have all the different players, the vehicle manufacturers, all the different players that are interested in making certain that this initial rollout of vehicles that plug into the grid is a smooth one, that consumers have a good experience with that vehicle, that they understand exactly what its benefits are, and they can take advantage of it.